My name is Bryce Butler. I'm the managing partner of Access Ventures, headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky. Glad to be here with you. I run a private operating foundation that I started about 6 years ago, and our mission is to build a more inclusive and creative economy. We believe that is an economy that's resilient, dynamic, and equitable. And so some of the areas that we work in intersect with housing pretty specifically. We actually started in housing. Repurposing vacant and abandoned homes in low and moderate income communities, and looking at the financial structures of that. And then a couple of years ago, we launched a challenge program called the Reconstruct Challenge. You can check it out at reconstructchallenge.com. And it was really more of a reverse pitch where we were trying to identify innovative approaches to solve for housing affordability. And we basically did a national call for solutions. And some of the things that we noticed pretty quickly were in the housing space. It's pretty diverse, but when people first think of housing, they immediately jump to brick and mortar construction design. And while those are important, and I think obviously part of the housing problem solution approach, we can't ignore the interrelatedness of finance, policy, transportation, childcare, a lot of things that touch housing. Because really at the end of the day, when a person is paying between 30, 40, 50% of their disposable income on housing, it has material impacts on so many other things. So I think as you're looking at how do we make housing more affordable, we've got to look at the total picture of housing. Many people forget, one of the things we say a lot of times is it's really expensive to be poor in America. And that's because if you're facing housing insecurity, the incentives are misaligned. And so your landlord who owns the property, they're not incentivized to repair the HVAC or to improve the efficiency of the windows or to think about insurance costs. And so those costs are typically passed on through to the tenant. And so it can be really expensive to live in what are technically qualified as good, affordable housing units because the utility bill is 2 or 3 times that of a person living in a house 2 times the size. So I think as we think about affordability in housing, we've got to widen our aperture a little bit and think about all of the intangible intersects that are out there. I think some of the things we're seeing are creative ways to help create more flexibility in a person's disposable income. So one example of a solution that we worked with is someone that's facing housing insecurity is also typically facing food insecurity. And so one solution that we've been working with is a group out of Chicago called MRelief. And they actually help low-income families access SNAP benefits. And they found that if a person who's already qualified for SNAP benefits is able to access those, they can put another $215 into their pocket on a monthly basis. And so when you think about making housing more affordable, if someone's not worried about that food bill, how much more then could they put towards their housing, their utilities? Co-living pre-COVID, and so it's interesting now to think about housing affordability in a post-COVID economy. But co-living was a trend that was emerging to make it more affordable, to create connections for disconnected elderly, people that experience loneliness, depression. And so solutions like Nesterly out of Boston, Pad Split out of Atlanta, really trying to look at the creative use of space to make it more affordable. Those are interesting, and I think they will still be around as we come out of COVID. But co-living arrangements that really make it more affordable for people to live closer to where they work. So I think as you think about housing affordability, one of the things that I would want to impress upon you is the need to widen the aperture, to think about the total picture and the cost of housing. In Louisville, where we are, the reason we focused not on brick and mortar, but housing affordability more broadly, is because if you look at the number of units available, there are actually enough housing units for the people that are housing insecure in our market. But the problem is they're unattainable. They're too expensive. And so our thesis was if we can make the existing housing stock more affordable, i.e. increasing a person's disposable income incrementally and broadening their ability to access better quality and affordable homes, then the economy and those families are going to be better off for it. And so I think as we think about affordable housing in a broader sense, we'll start to get really creative around finance, really creative around utility, utility types. It could be solar home solutions or utility partnerships around financing, co-living, ADUs, even outside of the traditional design build. I think the other thing we have to think through, and I know Ivy Prize is really good at this, is just kind of the public sector coordination. In every single scenario we've worked, whether it's brick and mortar or some of these other solutions, people need to start early in kind of thinking through coordination with the public sector. It's really cool to think about container homes, but many local regulatory bodies prohibit those types of mobile dwellings. And so I think if there's some sort of solution that comes to mind or a direction that you're thinking about, how does that intersect with the public sector, and what problems are you going to have to solve for as you try to bring your solution to market? So excited to be a part of this group, and thanks for the time to share a little bit of the information that I know, and look forward to staying in contact and seeing what you come up with.